I've been told by my team to get off my butt, quite literally. You have to also use your channels wisely, much like you do. This is something that you might be able to teach me a little bit about after we're done here. So.
Facepalm moment there.
I've done many podcasts before. I've not even posted one. This is the first one I will.
Tell me more. Okay, when are you guys shooting? You're rolling already? Oh dear Lord.
A lot of B-roll now. He's got good B-roll.
Today's guest is someone who bridges legacy with contemporary. I have His Highness Rana Digvijay Singh Kathiwada. That took me a while to get around in my head. Just the way I have some of the other corporate leaders, political leaders, sometimes even some legal officials coming and talking to you about something which matters to you. I have him here telling me about how he creates a bridge between Kathiwada, which, well, a lot of us would know as a rural space, and Mumbai, a city which is perhaps tier one for us, which is perhaps crowded for us, but maybe houses them from where they come from, which is nice and peaceful, to extremely crowded. But maybe they miss that, and maybe we miss what they are to offer with Kathiwada. I'm here to explore the legacy of 600 years with Digvijay, and he's being kind enough to let us into his abode so we can show you more. Watch this one for a lot of fun. Yeah. What are you doing with this place? When did this come into being? Where did you restore it?
So this happened to us in COVID. We restored it earlier because it's a family home, essentially.
Yeah.
We live upstairs.
City House.
Kathiwada City House, that's right. And what happened in COVID was that when we were renovating the ground floor space, because we moved upstairs, my mother on the third level and us on the second level, me, my wife and my son, this was going to be an art gallery, which is my urban business. I love the subject of art, objects of beauty. I'm also a third generation art collector, but I like to buy and sell because unlike my mother and my grandfather, I don't like to be stuck with things that I've acquired, right? And we bought and sold art for the preservation sake of it. So during COVID, when everything shut down and obviously the work here had stopped, art galleries, we decided later, is going to be very transactional, very dry, because you spend so much time in your space as a family, being cooped up. We are fortunate. We're all very privileged and very fortunate to be cooped up in this kind of environment. Other people have not had it that easy. We realized that art gallery is going to be this quiet, dry, very museum. That's not what we wanted. So we came up with a plan that what if this was like, not an arts club, but what if it was
So it wasn't for the collectors, it was for the artists.
It was, no, not really. I think it was a third space for anyone who wanted to belong. I think that's the best place to put it. It's not a place of work. It's not a place of home. It's not your home. It's not your office. But it's a place where you can come and belong in an environment outside of these two, but curated really well. Whether it's the books, whether it's the food, whether it's the smell of the coffee, of course, the art, which is really important, and all my mom's, textile history. So we're like, let's put this up. Let people just enjoy it. Find a place of belonging where they can just come and cut off, because there's a few places where we're in Mumbai that you're in the lap of nature.
I completely agree. And I was actually surprised. I was telling my crew and Abhishek, of course, who's the co-founder of Vidya, that I have worked around in this place for 13 years. Yeah. I didn't know this place existed.
It's a little thing nestled away in a corner, and we wanted to keep it quiet, so you'll never see a big signage outside. Yeah. It's just for the people who want to belong and who discover it, because you got to peel the layers for discovery. Yeah. It's not a very large space like a club or a corporate, setting where you can invite in a lot of people. It has to be intimate. It has to be boutique. It has to be sensitive in that sense. Sure. So that's what happened in COVID.
But what is 1434?
So that's the year that Kathiwada was established.
600 years.
600 years almost, right? Wow. So in 2034, it'll be 600 years. And circle, kind of defines a community. Sure. Circles usually more small, intimate, because that's what a circle is, right? A circle group of people. Yeah. So we just came up with Circle 1434, where you kind of learning from the past, but kind of filtering through to the future in that sense. So that's how the name came about to be.
So if I were to, let's say, walk into Circle 1434, what are the kind of people I would find? Do you think I would find somebody of my class?
Definitely. We have people from media, artists, musicians, businessmen, not to say not businessmen, some lawyers who like to drop in for a meeting or two, or just cut off between their commute from Nariman Point to Bandra.
Oh, seriously?
There are a lot of people who either live that side and work that side. This is a stopover for them in that sense, right? So it's a wide range, and as young as a 20-year-old going up to 65, 70. So you'll find all sorts. And not that everybody knows each other. We have mixers and we have events, but it's not that everybody knows each other, and that's fine. Some people come for the quietude in this busy urban fabric, and some people come to maybe have a conversation with someone else. Somebody just comes to read a book. I have friends who've become members because they're like, I can sit in a corner, read a book, have a cup of coffee, and leave. That's a privilege that I'm happy to be able to provide.
So, when you were just saying that, oh, listen, will the pitter-patter disturb you? I'm like, no. I think this is one of the rare spaces I'm able to distinctly
you can hear the pitter-patter,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, otherwise it's always like pa, pa, pa.
Absolutely.
So now I know that, you've kind of been between here and Kathiwada for a while. I can't have you choose one, but tell us from your...
Oh, I'll gladly choose.
Would you?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
And I've told my mother and my wife, and they're absolutely mad, but I would gladly live in the village. Okay. I would move lock, stock and barrel and live in Kathiwada, provided there was a better healthcare system, which we're creating because there's no other way to do it. And the foundation's doing that work. So we would have access to good healthcare in maybe a couple of years. And we're building out a community for second homes where people from Baroda and Indore, much like we have Karjat and Lonavla and whatnot.
Oh, really? Like an ecotourism kind of
Absolutely.
a space.
But
sure.
You can buy or lease your own farmhouse for a long-term period. So if you didn't want to buy and build, we would build it, operate it for you, and you could have a long-term lease on there, 20 years, 30 years. We want to create that ecosystem because it's a bit of a hill station, especially for families from Baroda and families from Indore, because these are two cities which are driving distance.
Okay.
And so, to answer your question, I would gladly live in Kathiwada.
No, but within a question, you've kind of brought in more questions
Sure.
from my end. I want to understand when you say you're doing more for the healthcare community, you're doing more from the educational perspective, from the cultural community building. Essentially, what you're trying to do is like a crossover between people from, call them village, but I would ideally call them a tier 4 space.
Yeah,
and
it's a town.
It's a town,
it's
right?
A town,
and
yes.
the tier 2s and maybe even the tier 1s, because I mean, I would kill for a breath of fresh air at the kind of AQI that I'm living in.
Absolutely,
right?
We all do.
What's the kind of work that you're doing there?
Oh, that'd be taking me. I'll try to condense it. There's a for-profit angle, and then there's a not-for-profit angle.
Sure.
The for-profit angle feeds into the not-for-profit angle. The not-for-profit angle, largely speaking, it's our foundation's work, and the foundation has 4 clear categories, but they all overlap with each other. So healthcare is one, and we have to have the right partners because we can't run a hospital or the healthcare system. But there are plenty of great organizations that would be plugging into our healthcare system to provide us with the ammunition to be able to serve the healthcare space. On the education front, we're doing everything on our own. We're building it from ground up.
Okay.
We've unfortunately inherited also the legacy of the least literate district in the entire country. So there's no stronger reason for me to be doing what I'm doing because the bar's set very low. So whatever I do will be a plus. But the idea is to really turn it on its head and be in the top 10 most literate districts by the time I'm done, right? That's the mandate. So it's not about one school. A school is going to prima facie be a flagship product to set the stage on fire that we've got this institution, right? And this institution would do a lot more than just the school. After school programs, digital literacy for the youth, financial literacy for the trading community, farmer training programs for the local communities because it's largely farmers, and then teacher training for all the government schools that are there in the area. So the school's really a fulcrum in this education space.
Which will feed into everything from there forward.
For the
because
entire
that was
district.
The basic sort of issue that you had, that the literacy is low.
That was our North Star. We had to tackle education first. Healthcare is important, but education for us was the North Star. With healthcare, I know I can rope in other players to kind of help us with the systems, with education. It's something that my wife was really passionate about also. So we're like, let's do this on our own and let's do it with, great sense of pride. I hate to say it with healthcare. It's just, it's sad, and, it can drain you of your energy. So it's better left to professionals. With education, it's just joy. You're ticking a box of joy pretty much every day. Because everyone who walks into a healthcare space is suffering from something, and that it has its effect on
it does,
no matter what
sure.
you say, like if you had to walk into a hospital, it's not all smiles and
oh no,
it's unfortunate,
in fact,
right? There's
people
reason.
would often tell you that if you're feeling low and if you think you're most unfortunate today, just go visit a hospital.
Exactly, right? So I mean, it drains you of that kind of energy systems. And then there's sports, which I loved, and that's how we had started, and that's how the whole, the foundation kind of spiraled from there. And we work on ecology, which is really important because we won't have a planet without like our nature systems. So these are the 4 very clear silos, but they all interrelate with each other because they all provide livelihoods to people. And therein comes the for-profit layers, that if you're going to do all these things for the community, it's a very pretty place. So it lends itself very well to the industry of tourism. Not going to plug in a factory there. That's suited for maybe some other places.
Okay.
But Kathiwada is suited for tourism. It's ripe for tourism. But you have to build out the infrastructure. And these are very capital intensive projects. And you have to build tourism infrastructure across the board. It has to be for all market levels. You want the backpackers to also come. You want the elite to also come. You want mid-income groups to also come. And create a very family-oriented, nature-based campus. So everybody can immerse with nature.
I kind of see you taking a very distinctive stance here, because when somebody talks about development, and trust me, I've done a lot of interviews with a lot of people talking about development, most of them well-intentioned, wouldn't call them on anything else, but they've always talked about infrastructure, about roads and highways and malls and factories and all of that. And here you are taking a complete distinctive stance. Is it something where you feel that it's the ecology of the place that is more important than the fact that you just sort of, a rapid industrialization is going to sort of, so you're wanting to go through the slow process rather than just do it tomorrow?
Extremely well put. You have to build with patience. There's no other way to do it. I don't blame the people who think of the malls and the infrastructure, speed, disruption, profitability, nothing wrong in that, because it has a ripple effect for a lot of other things. And often the people speaking about that are given, say a politician or say a businessman, they're given very limited time to do what they're doing, because either they'll be in the position for a limited time, or the business has investors who need returns. So these are products that are really well aligned to their vision and goal. In our case, yes, we've inherited nature. So we have to focus on ecology, even if I didn't want to. But that has kind of led your perspective to slow thinking, because nature takes its time to evolve. I can build a building in a year or 2 years. But if you plant a forest, the next generation is going to see that forest. You are not going to be able to reap the benefits of the forest. So you have to be cognizant of that nature is a slow, tricky, and it throws curveballs at you. You cannot dictate terms with nature. You have to work with it. You can't work against it. So that's a very key learning in our ecological process. Like if you look at just our permaculture campus, which is one of the many things we were doing in our ecological work for the foundation, we started 3 years ago. And if you look at it then and you look at it today, I show you pictures, you'll be like, absolutely nothing's been done here. What are you talking about? But that, if you talk to permaculture experts, and I had to learn it, I had no idea of, these kind of nature-based systems. They're like, this is what laying the foundation means. And the real results, I thought they'll say 5 years, 7 years. Say 15 years later, we'll show you what's happened. So I just had to live with that fact that we are going to see change 15 years later.
But Digvijay, you were absolutely right when you said that a minister has 5 years. You've had, fortunately, 6 centuries of legacy behind you. You can't do things for tomorrow. It just doesn't go with the legacy that you carry on your shoulders. What does the burden feel like?
Look, we've always been taught to think in decades. We can't think in years like, politicians and business. We've always been taught. So I never knew what it meant to think in years. Okay, what's going to happen next? I never thought like that. Always thought what's going to happen next decade. What can we do? What
that's going to influence the next generation.
Next generation and maybe beyond. So all our work, whether we build, we create, or we do, these are three different things. You build, you can build something. You create, it could be short term, or you do, which is in the present moment. But they all have to align to how is this making sense for decades to come. And things perish. There's no big deal in things falling apart, breaking apart, perishing because of climate or natural calamities and things like that. But essentially, institution building, unlike entrepreneurship, we were never taught to think like entrepreneurs. We were always taught to things like institution building. What are you going to do that will outlast you, outlast your immediate family, and outlast a large chunk of time, and everything comes to an end. But you build for multiple cycles, not one cycle. So even if you're building a school or a hospital, maybe it'll be 200 years later, they might not exist, but you cannot build for 20 or 30 years. That's not possible. You got to build for even the physical building. When we give the mandate to the structural engineer, no concrete and cement is built to last more than 50, 60 years.
Sure.
That's the nature of modern materials, right? We told them the materiality. I'm like, look, I'm building for like at least a century.
Are they able to envision that when you say
they think
that?
I'm just crazy and mad and like waste of money and this and that. कि 50 साल के बाद आपका बेटा उसको refurbish कर लेगा. I'm like, उसको refurbish renovate नहीं करना चाहिए. We'll maintain every year, we'll do it. But it needs palaces were built. They're still surviving 300, 400 years later. Forts, they're still surviving.
That's true.
Those guys thought in centuries. They didn't build a fort. Okay, we have to protect ourselves just today or tomorrow or later. And legacy, people think legacy history might be, of course, legacy history. But my forefathers or the person then was thinking future forward, right?
Sure.
That's why it's called a legacy.
Maybe he thought what you are going to do when you come in.
And that's how you're taught.
Yeah.
That now and I have to do things that suit the present moment. For 600 years earlier, it was just about survival,
Sure.
worship, food. That's what was there. After that, it became something else, something else. Today, you're battling so many different issues. And there's also great opportunity. You look at technology.
Yeah.
My father or forefathers won't be able to do things at such speed.
Sure.
For them to build a school also, they won't be able to build it in 2 years.
Yeah.
Take them 5-6 years to build a school, and that was acceptable.
Yeah.
Today, it cannot take more than 2 years
Yeah.
to get it up
That's
and
when
going.
that's when somebody will call you slow.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
takes longer than that.
So legacy perceived, the word legacy is perceived in history, in the golden era. Legacy is future forward. Otherwise, it wouldn't be 600 years old. It's as simple as that. Or 700 or 300 or 400. It has to be future forward. There's no choice.
You've planted some things in Kathiwada already. There's the cricket ground. There are these little educational institutions I think there's a healthcare community. There is so much that you've done on there. Could you elaborate a little bit more and maybe what the next, okay, I'm not going to ask you 5 years. I have to change my question here. What the next 50 years look like for Kathiwada?
Look, Kathiwada for me is like a placemaking project. Or replace an existing place, right? It's a town made up of 149 villages. Today we have 150,000 people. We do the math. How many people are we going to have 50 years later? What are the institutions that you're building that's going to serve a population of 5 and 6 lakh? Not everybody will participate in the journey and not everybody will benefit from that journey. Politicians and Democrats will come and go. Where in a leadership position where we are a constant as a family, as a person, as the next generation.
Yeah, as something that people look at.
Absolutely.
For generations because their forefathers did.
Absolutely.
And perhaps their grandchildren too will.
Absolutely.
Just somebody who's, okay, let me put it like this, just somebody who can effect that change for them. Just somebody who they can go to, who's not an institution, who's not a government, who's not a politician.
Absolutely.
Maybe one of their own. Today you're perceived as one of their own.
Absolutely.
From a dynasty perspective, today they maybe perceive you as family. You're closer to them.
Yeah, absolutely. They are. They're like family. A lot of them are family. And I keep telling them, while change is the only constant in that sense. They have to future-proof themselves as well. So there's governance, and they have to hold people accountable. But I don't need votes because I'm not standing for any position, and I don't need their money. And these are the only two ways transactions happen, when the government needs vote. But luckily for me, I'm not in a position of governmental responsibility. So I have the flexibility and the freedom to say no to a lot of the things that can't be done or I don't want to do.
Yeah.
It could be anything. And of course, people come and voice their opinion, and we have public forums, and we have gatherings and sittings. And now, thanks to social media, WhatsApp groups has become easier. So you have different WhatsApp groups for different topics. And where I can help. But sometimes I very clearly tell them, you need to hold the Gram Panchayat responsible and accountable for this. I started the waste management program, but the idea of starting the program was to hand it over to the people. Now, if they don't have the competency to do it, I can help a little longer. But beyond that, the people have to hold their elected representative. And school, of course, I'll keep doing.
Yeah.
But things like waste management, sewage treatment plant, we've handed it over to the government. It's their responsibility to make sure that it's a well-functioning, well-oiled machinery. I know they couldn't get it up and going. So we got it up and going. But now it's a lot to do with educating the people that, look, this is not my responsibility. I did it anyway.
Yeah.
But if you have a problem with your waste, there's a system for it. And there are people in government who are supposed to be doing their job. So that education is also now coming to the forefront, where people are soon realizing that their voices matter. At the end of the day, they're voters.
Yeah.
It's a democratically elected state. So that's been a huge challenge, though. It's a huge challenge to tell them, look, you've got to go somewhere. It's hard to shut that door on them.
I was about to ask you the same question. How did that transition happen for you, the family, and the people of Kathiwada?
Look, it's you just learn with experience, right? Initially, when I was doing these things in my mid-20s, didn't have the experience, made a lot of mistakes, overcommitted, under-delivered. Now it's the other way around. You feel bad when, you can't do something that you know that you could do, but you got to take a stance, whether it's a moral stance, for example, right? So it's not easy.
They get used to that,
and
that just coming through.
Human nature is first to love and trust your leaders. But what also happens is that beyond a point, not everybody is on the same page. We have 1.5 billion people out there, only have 1.5 lakh. But a lot of people don't like, अरे cricket ground बनाने की क्या जरूरत थी, इससे अच्छा तो इतना खर्च कर लेते तो hospital अब तक बन जाता. That's a lot of that also.
Yeah.
And you just have to accept it. You can't sit and reply to everything.
Sure.
You're doing things for a certain reason. You can't reply to.
And like you mentioned, you have a decade, 2 decades, 3 decades in your vision. They see what's happening today. कि मेरी अगली government को क्या फायदा होने वाला है इससे.
Absolutely.
How does I want to focus back to you as a person? Is there a tug of war sometimes with what you are as a person? You're a collector, you're a curator. I'm sure there are certain personal hobbies, certain things that you love, and sometimes there are these responsibilities that come to you. Firstly, tell me about both of these, and what's the tug of war?
Yeah, no, it is a tug of war. There are a lot of things that I'm forced to do in a sense that I wouldn't want to do. But I realize that comes with the job.
That's the way it is. Comes with the job.
It comes with the job, right? Well, you have no choice once you make a choice. It's as simple as that. Once you've made a choice, you don't have a choice within that choice. You've just got to do it. It comes with fair share of joy and it comes with fair share of pain, and you have to accept that. That's part one. But I think I blend both worlds really well. I mean, I think I'm very privileged and fortunate to be grounded rurally and still explore my curiosity in my urban life. And I look at it as two different expressions of the same intent in that sense. And I love my work there. I love my work here. So I just consider myself lucky and privileged and fortunate to be able to do these things. And in both worlds, it'll come with its baggage. And the more accepting you are of it, then it doesn't become a baggage. The burden reduces over time. And I think building strong systems and strong teams in both spaces, I think that really helps. That's a key takeaway for me over a period of time.
No, hold on. I think you're being too humble here. Let me just say it out loud once for the audiences, once for the camera, and maybe once for you as well. And correct me if I'm wrong. His Highness Rana Digvijay Singh Kathiwada.
Yes.
Is so open out on corporate handles, is so open out on a reach out to a communication, which I just happen to do and you happen to accept.
Recently, I have to admit, because I've been told by my team to get off my butt quite literally and get on and start I've done many podcasts before. I've not even posted one. This is the first one I will.
Yeah.
And my team said, after you do this, you jolly one. I'm like, well, that was 2-3 years ago. Like, no, we will repack it because it's important to tell the story. Like you say, it's important to tell your story. When you wrote to me, it's like, it's important to tell your story because somebody else will benefit from it. Never thought of it like that till you mentioned something along those lines. I made the choice. I made the choice of being more active, being more vocal on socials.
But does being more accessible take away the charm, so to speak? Do you think so?
Maybe for some people do think like that. I don't, because even in Kathiwada, my doors are always open. 5 to 7 p.m., though there's a window, because otherwise you're doing some work and then you get interrupted. Absolutely. But the village knows 5 to 7 people and 5 to 7 p.m. and there are loads of people every day at the door. And that's a bit of a tradition because it's been that way since my grandfather's time and great-grandfather's time. So we've just kept,
like a darbar of sorts and things like that.
We've just kept it going. We've just kept it going, and there was a space defined for it. It was open air, so in the summer and monsoon it happens less, which is fine. It happens more in the winter. But I use that as an opportunity to kind of learn also, because they're telling you things directly that otherwise your staff and other people will not tell you.
Yeah,
loads of things could be related to anything, politics,
so it's like you're to the ground.
Absolutely. And why not, right? So if I could take an attitude like that there, then urban India and now social media, why not, right? I mean, you can only use it and leverage it to your advantage. And I think using technology wisely, I don't think you can stay away from it for too long. I'm not on Instagram, so I mean, that's something I stay away from. But you have other platforms like YouTube and LinkedIn, and you have to engage with this. I don't think there's a choice. And like in Madhya Pradesh, again, most of the social media is Hindi based. Most of my media, well, whether it's print or video, it's all Hindi based. Maybe my LinkedIn audience won't be able to grasp all of it, right? So you have to also use your channels wisely, much like you do. This is something that you might be able to teach me a little bit about after we're done here. So
facepalm moment there. I watched Call of the Land and it kind of stayed with me. Tell us more, take us through it. And what does that mean to you? What does it stand for?
First, I'll tell you how this came about, right? When we had a new media team putting this together, because we had to start putting out our foundation work. And the reason we needed to do it is two-pronged. Because we needed more partners. Like I'd spoken about the healthcare space. You need other NGOs to collaborate with you.
Yeah.
They are domain experts. We're not. We know that we want to create access to good healthcare for underserved who are very deserving of equal healthcare access.
Yeah.
We had to start putting out content. And the easiest way to do that was video. And when the media team came together, they said, look, say a short format film, and they started asking all the relevant questions. Answers were always in the head. But when someone asks you a relevant question,
they just invoke it.
You really then have to think deeply. Why? I only have 30 seconds to talk about this. In my head, it's a 30-minute answer. Yeah, now 30 seconds mein kaise karu? But being precise is an art. And when a good videographer and a good choreographer and a good scriptwriter tells you that, look, this is how it has to happen, the Call of the Land emerged. It wasn't scripted at all. We're like, we've got to talk about the foundation. These are the things were happening. And then they're like, you know what? This is the Call of the Land. Everything is to do with being rooted back as to what are we going to preserve, what are we going to protect, and how are we going to progress. These are the three emerging themes that came out from our work, because all our work was one about preservation, one about protection, and thirdly about, okay, we've got those two solved. How do we progress this land? Can't be stuck in time. The world's moving on. We keep giving the example of healthcare, but there's so much more. Whether it's sports, whether it's education, so many things, right? Whether it is infrastructure, that you can act as a catalyst between the people and the government to get the roads and the, sadak bijli pani, wo to theek tarah se karwa do. That's a minimum you can do, but because the people don't have access to the basics, they can't take their voice to MLA, they can't take their voice to the MP, who have to take it further to a cabinet minister who are very remote. And
you turn out to be the conduit.
We turn out to be like that conduit and that bridge and that catalyst to kind of make everything happen. And I think we've been very instrumental in getting large chunks. We got a whole state highway sanction.
Yeah.
It took me some time, but we worked very closely with cabinet ministers, and they saw the reason why. And they're like, we didn't even know that because of the bureaucracy and the corruption, the news doesn't get to the real top decision makers, right? And even if it does, things happen on paper, and ground reality is very different.
Some of us, I think, are happy about the fact that being on the media side, while we essentially want to be the bridge, a lot of times we want to be the connectors between, like you mentioned, the underserved.
Yeah.
And to my mind, I think you are also an underserved space, because you are doing so much. There is a whole region that exists, right? And a lot of people back here don't really know. So when you say, oh, there is so much of barrage of information, etc., I don't think we know a lot.
Yeah, very true. Also, now it's getting to be able to find your depth within this large space of media and social. It's tough, right? And we've taken a stance that we are going to be a little bit more open about it. And honestly, we'd love that if others participate in our journey, whether it's other NGOs, whether it's volunteers. If we don't, as you rightly said, if we don't tell the world what we can offer and what we're doing, how can we expect anyone to participate? You can't have a closed doors approach. So to your previous question, does it take away the charm? What choice do we have? What am I going to do sitting and being charming when actual ground reality is very different? The work's not getting done. You need everyone to participate. And the world future forward is only about collaboration. It is a lot about collaboration and little bit about anything else. You have to make meaningful connections. And we are such an interdependent, interconnected world today, which wasn't the case in my forefathers' time. So why shouldn't I use this as an opportunity and a leverage to get other amazing people involved in what we're doing? Whether we can offer something or they can offer something to us, we need to create that bridge.
When I hear you talk, I feel a sense that you still feel chained. You still feel that there is a space where you can be unleashed.
Yeah.
Is there something that you still feel that I wish I could execute this?
Time, right? Time, energy, money, vortex. It's these three things. You have certain amount of money. Money is useful, right? Not money in the context of profitability, but you need capital to execute things.
Yeah.
Then you have time, right? You have 24 hours in a day. Then you're working with other teams. You distill it down. It's an 8-hour working day, maybe even less.
Sure.
And then there's the energy vortex. You might have all that money and time in the world, but if you don't have the energy to be able to kind of dissipate that passion through to the people who are actually getting your work done, alone you can't do anything. I can't build a school alone or a hospital alone. It requires collaborating with so many people, engineers, contractors, staff, the local community.
People on the ground, people sanctioning those contracts, bureaucracy, governments, everybody.
So much, land permissions.
I really want to ask you this one thing. Do you have to follow up?
Oh yeah, there's it's the worst part of my job. I hate it. I absolutely...
Thank God, dear Lord.
I absolutely hate it. And no matter how many people you keep...
But trust me, as somebody who's not royalty, I'm sorry to use this word.
No, the royalty is... things don't get done. We're still rooted in very Indian ideology. So then you and I are more or less on the same plane. You have to follow up with everybody, including your own staff, including the bureaucrats, It is, it's absolute hell. It's
I
absolute
thought
hell.
it was easier.
It might be a little easier for me as compared to someone else,
But
it
it's
doesn't
there.
go away. Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Even with architects and it's a mess. And especially when you're building so much and so many different projects going on, Anganwadi, school, hospital, cricket ground, museum, pavilion, 2 hotels, arts village, Gaushala, permaculture campus. And it's not in one location, right? It's spread over like 200 acres. So a project is sometimes in one corner and the other projects are in another corner. When I'm there, I'm walking some 30,000 steps a day because you can only get into the car and go that far. The rest of the lands you have to walk. There's no choice. There's no helicopter kind of or drone putting you on the thing. So follow-up is constant and eyes on the ground. I spend 15 days a month there. It won't happen otherwise. It's just not possible.
So I think I'm veering towards my last question. You're standing here today in 2025. Let's just say that's what, I think at least 600, 650 years from where the lineage started.
There will be 600 in 2034, which is also our mission statement. So yeah, 590 or whatever, yeah.
So great. That I think you've just summed up my question there. 10 years out in 2034 when you complete your 600 years. Because that is a more visible milestone. You've just kind of increased, broadened my canvas, right? I'm typically used to asking 2-year, 3-year, 5-year questions. Here you are saying, listen, we think in generations, Sonam. So tell me about what is Vision 2034 and tell me about what 100 years from now looks like, I don't know, 21, 25.
Yeah, okay. So let's look at 10 years, right? We actually have a website coming up for that because it very clearly defines as to what the foundation needs to do, what the for-profit businesses need to do to set up those livelihood programs for this rural, I call it a rural placemaking project, in a sense, future-proofing it. So first things, what can the government do to support the people? Sadak, bijli, pani, roti, kapda, makan, very typical, needs to stay the way it is. Nothing changes there.
Okay.
Make sure people have decent housing. Make sure they have employment so they can feed themselves and feed their family. Make sure that they have clothes on their back. It is the responsibility of the government. If they can solve employment issues and if they can solve housing issues for the rural poor, the other things, NGOs like us, our foundation can take over and private businesses can help market systems, right? As I say, charity or foundation fills that gap which governments can't do and markets will not do. So that's very clear as to that's the role that we have to play as a foundation.
Sure.
And hold those responsible for getting the basic infrastructure in place because I'm not responsible for the infrastructure. Neither do I have the capital to go out there and build roads and provide electrification. Not possible, right? So that's one part. Second is all the projects that we're doing, how many of them can get complete in a limited span of time, and that span of time is about another 2.5 years from now. So there's a 7-year runway for the projects to succeed. School's ready, it's starting. Hospital has to get ready and then you have to make it a well-oiled machine so it's not dependent on us anymore. Somebody else can take over. We might build another hospital. Not to say no. We might build another sports ground. We might build another school. But it's very important for these projects to be completed in order for it to have a runway for success.
So you're not just looking at completion, you're looking at a certain number of years of its effective functioning on its own.
And that's a key word there. It needs to be effective. And what is our metrics? Can we measure and evaluate the success of this? How many people's X have we solved healthcare issues? How many kids have graduated from our school? With what grades? Have they got jobs? Are they placed well? Are they socially competent and emotionally healthy human beings? So many different things, right? How many people have we employed in our hotels? How many local entrepreneurs have started their businesses because of us? Whether someone supplying milk or vegetables to us, whether someone started a car rental company because of our hotel. How many are we directly employing to serve the customers? How sustainably can we do this in terms of waste management, sewage treatment plant? Is there an EV program? Can we make our entire 100-acre campus completely redundant and devoid of any motor vehicles, maybe EVs. So you have these sustainable practices which are very future forward. But that cannot happen in 2034. That has to happen in 2 years. So we have success, and maybe not all of them will be successful. And you have to be willing to accept that as well. That maybe we weren't, one of the projects was nobody came to our museum, or we thought hundreds of people will come, koi nahi aaya, or too few people came. But it's a part of the plan and it's okay. Sports pavilion, ground should have been rented every weekend. Maybe it's not getting rented every weekend. Or something else. Hotel occupancy is not as much as we thought. So you have to be ready to accept that not all components of your organic farm, we thought we'll produce so much organic food for our hotels. So many farmers we can employ, but hotel mein log nahi aaye, so we employed less farmers. You have to be ready for that, but you have to have a runway to give yourself some time for success.
Yeah.
And 100 years later, we're all dead and gone, and maybe 3 generations from now, can they say things that, that generation, or say, politely, me, who did I build for? Did I build with people? Yes, I built with people, the locals. I built for them. But more importantly, I want them to say we built people. Like, we really built these people. We gave them strong foundations, whether it's livelihoods, whether it's schooling, whether it's healthcare, whether it's leadership. Be a community leader. Just help your neighbor. That's a leadership role. You don't have to go out there and, become an MLA or become an IAS officer or a police officer or a doctor. If you do, great. But small leadership traits, and this really lacks in rural India. In urban India, you'll say that, you can see leaders everywhere, managers in offices, or, he's got a promotion now, he's in rural India, there's no scope of this thinking, let alone an opportunity to be in a leadership role.
It's each one for themselves.
So 100 years later, not 300 years later, can they turn around and say, we built people? That's the most important thing for me.
Well, did you just think that we were talking to a CEO? Maybe. That's perhaps how royalty also has evolved over the last couple of decades, generations maybe. So maybe while you're watching some shows that show royalty in a very different light, here I am talking to, once again, let me word it right, His Highness Rana Digvijay Singh Kathiwada in his house, the Kathiwada City House in Worli in Mumbai. And you must know that today I've had one enriched conversation and I will have many more such. Thank you.